My girlfriend told me she accidentally messaged her ex. Turns out she had been cheating for months. I left her, and now she is broke. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and this is not the kind of thing I usually write about. I'm private. I don't spill my personal life out on the internet, but what happened to me is wild enough that I think it might actually help someone else. I'd been dating this girl for about a year and a half. She seemed like a great fit, smart, funny, didn't mind staying in most nights, but also loved going out when we wanted. She said her family was complicated, which I took at face value, and apparently she'd had some toxic exes in her past. I brushed that off, figuring we all have our history. I thought I was different from them. And I'll admit it, maybe I got a bit of a savior complex, thinking I could be the one who'd finally treat her right. One night, she casually mentioned she'd accidentally messaged her ex. I didn't think much of it at first. We were sitting on the couch, drinking wine, and she dropped it like it was no big deal. She said she'd reached out because she'd forgotten the name of a restaurant they used to go to, something she thought I'd like. Sounded odd, but I let it go. People make mistakes, right? But after that, she was always on her phone. She'd be smiling at something, quickly flipping her screen down if I walked over. And if I asked, she'd say I was being paranoid. She started calling me controlling. Even went on a rant once about how her ex used to try to control her and that she wasn't going to let anyone else do that to her. I backed off, feeling like the bad guy, wondering if I really was overstepping. Then one night, while she was in the bathroom, she left her phone on the kitchen counter, and it lit up with a message from her ex. I ignored it at first, but then curiosity got the best of me, and I unlocked it. What I found made my stomach turn. She'd been messaging him for months. She'd been telling him how much she missed him, how she felt so trapped in our relationship that she wished she'd stayed with him. It wasn't just one or two messages. It was a whole thread, stretching back for months. She'd been playing both sides, acting like I was some kind of prison guard, keeping her from being with her real love. When she came back, I was still standing there, her phone in my hand. I looked at her, totally stunned, waiting for her to say something. But she just looked annoyed, like I was the one who'd crossed the line. "What are you doing with my phone?" she snapped. "Are you kidding me?" I said, "You've been messaging your ex behind my back for months. You've been telling him you miss him, that you're trapped with me, and I'm the one who's in the wrong." She rolled her eyes. "It's just messages. I didn't sleep with him or anything. Stop overreacting." That was it for me. I told her to get out. She tried to argue, even had the nerve to say I was being dramatic, but I stuck to it. She packed up her things the next morning and left. I thought that was the end. I spent the next week feeling completely hollowed out, replaying everything, wondering how I'd let myself get so blindsided. Then, out of nowhere, she messaged me. She said she'd made a mistake and that she was struggling. Financially, emotionally, everything. Apparently, she'd lost her job because she'd been overwhelmed trying to keep up with the whole love triangle she'd been orchestrating. Now, she was broke and jobless and saying she'd learned her lesson and wanted me back. I didn't respond. A few days later, she started leaving voicemails. When that didn't work, she got her friends involved, saying I'd abandoned her when she needed support. A couple of mutual friends reached out, saying how heartbroken she was, how she'd told them I'd left her with nothing, and that she was basically homeless. One even mentioned she'd been crashing on their couch, saying I'd kicked her out. And then she started getting really bold. She started claiming I owed her money for emotional damages. She said she'd spent so much investing in our relationship, and that I should compensate her for it. She even tried to send me an itemized list, saying I should pay her back for groceries, gas, and even a therapist consultation she'd done after our breakup. I ignored it all, but that didn't stop her. One day, I got a call from her brother. I'd never even met the guy, but here he was on the other end of the line, saying I'd ruined his sister's life and that I needed to do the right thing by helping her get back on her feet. He went on and on about how she'd been devastated and that I was to blame for everything that had gone wrong in her life since the breakup. I told him that his sister's problems weren't my responsibility and hung up, but the harassment didn't stop there. A few days later, I got an alert on my credit card for a purchase I definitely hadn't made. It was from some high-end boutique I'd never even heard of. I quickly realized she still had access to one of my old cards from a trip we'd taken together where I'd added her as an authorized user. She must have thought I wouldn't notice, or that I'd just let it slide. I immediately canceled the card and reported it, but it blew my mind that she'd try to pull that after everything. I changed every password, locked down every account, and thought that had to be the end of it. But she wasn't done. One morning, I woke up to a flood of texts and missed calls. My friends, my family, even a few coworkers had all messaged me about this huge Facebook post she'd tagged me in. She'd posted this long, dramatic rant about how I'd been abusive, how I'd gaslit her, isolated her from her friends, and then abandoned her when she was in need. She painted herself as this innocent, struggling woman who'd been a victim of my emotional abuse. She was practically begging for sympathy. At first, I was furious. Not just because of the lies, but because she tagged me for everyone in my life to see. Within minutes, her friends were flooding the comments, saying things like, "Men are the worst and stay strong, girl." Some people even said they'd always known I was toxic. It was like a witch hunt with me as a target. But what she didn't count on was that my friends knew exactly what she was like. A couple of my close buddies jumped in immediately, calling her out on her lies. One of them posted screenshots of the texts she'd sent him after I'd broken up with her. Messages where she claimed I was the love of her life, that she couldn't live without me, and that she'd do anything to get me back. And he wasn't the only one. She'd been going to multiple people, spinning different stories to each of them, trying to get sympathy or maybe a handout. I finally posted my own response. I laid out everything. That I'd caught her cheating, that she'd been trying to use my credit card, that she'd even gotten her family involved trying to guilt trip me. I kept it short, just the facts, with no drama, and added screenshots of her messages to me after the breakup. Seeing her own words, where she'd begged me to take her back, where she'd asked me for money, was the nail in the coffin. It wasn't long before people started turning on her. Friends and acquaintances began asking her questions, pointing out her contradictions, calling her out for trying to ruin my life with lies. People who'd initially sympathized with her started backing away. She tried deleting comments, but it was too late. Her lies were all over that post for everyone to see. Within a few hours, she was so humiliated that she deleted the entire post. By the next day, she deactivated her account completely. I didn't see her online after that, and to be honest, I was relieved. It's wild to think how far some people will go to twist the narrative and make themselves look like the victim. I thought I was just breaking up with a girl who cheated on me. I didn't realize I was dealing with someone willing to ruin my reputation, drain my bank account, and drag my name through the mud just to make herself look like the good guy. The fallout wasn't all bad, though. My friends who defended me, they've got my back more than ever. I'm glad they saw through her act and knew the truth. Looking back, I realized this was one of the best lessons I could have learned about the people I let into my life. So, yeah, in the end, her little revenge post ended up being her own downfall.